Hello everybody, this is Tim here again, here with another movie review, this time for Paranormal Activity, The Marked Ones. Now this one's a very interesting one. It's another movie, it's kind of just another sequel, but at the same time it plays more like a spin-off because it takes place in like Mexico, and there's like some really hot Latina chicks in this that are just like super hot. But yeah, as far as the movie goes, I'll just go ahead and give my ratings. Once again, from 1 to 4, it's a 0 out of 4. The biggest problem with this movie is for the most part, the first like half of this movie, or even the first like act, I guess, it really plays like almost just like a teen comedy with these characters like being dumb teenagers smoking pot stuff and just like really goofing off and doing stupid crap, like breaking into this woman's home who dies or whatever, and she's supposedly a witch, and they're like getting in there to like steal her black magic stuff so they can do spells and stuff just for fun because they're smoking pot. It's like, oh, we're stupid teenagers. It really plays almost like a comedy, to be honest. It doesn't feel anything like a Paranormal Activity movie for most of this, and the fact that this takes place in like the Mexican hood or ghetto or whatever, it really doesn't feel anything like a Paranormal Activity movie. So I had to really treat this as a standalone film when I judged it, because it really feels like a spin-off more than an actual Paranormal Activity movie. The characters here were probably the most likable for me of the series. These teenagers here, these characters. Um, the problem with this movie is when it does interesting stuff, like the kid in the movie, he does the spell thing in the movie, because they're messing around with this black magic stuff, and it starts like giving like superpowers, but really it's like the demon trying to like possess him or whatever, and he can like do kind of like neat stuff and all that, like float and stuff. It's kind of cool. You get stuff like that to where this movie really would have worked better if it just wasn't a Paranormal Activity movie and it was just like a normal movie, to where it was like started out as a horror movie almost, or gave you hints that it could be a horror movie, and this guy got like powers from a demon or something and used it to either become a supervillain or a superhero. You could have went either way with it. Really did something unique with this movie as like a horror superhero film, or just like a horror movie or something like that in Mexico. It just made it its own thing. This would have worked better as just its own movie. The characters here are probably are the dumbest of the series thus far in the way that they act, because of how dumb teenager like pot smoking they are. It's almost like they're in a different movie, but it is funny when they're on screen, but it does start to not like feel like a horror movie at all. But the further you get to the movie, once it gets in like the demonic possession thing and all that, it's extremely rote, like as a horror movie still, even though it is like a standalone. But because they're making this more like a standalone and making it feel fresher, it feels more like its own thing. So you don't have the burden of like having to compare it so much to those Paranormal Activity movies. But once you get to the end, it pretty much ends the exact same way. Everybody gets killed, and there's like this witch coven thing that they've been hitting at from the other movies. And actually, at the end here, like the dude with the camera, which they give like no real reason for why this guy would have the camera the entire time, and he like walks through a room and teleports back to the ending of the first movie, where we see the character Katie possessed, and she like stabs the Micah or Mika dude to death or whatever. Um, you don't it's like they're doing a different movie, but then they're forcing in stuff to try to make it a part of the Paranormal Activity franchise, and this just would have been better on its own. As a spin-off, it's still not very good. It's extremely rote, as a horror movie. And once you get to the end, like the last dude gets killed because his friend's been like demonically possessed, they team up with like this gangster thug dude at the end who just has like him and one buddy, and he just shotgun a few of the cult members, I guess, at the end of this movie. But the problem comes with the fact here that if you're going to put this like in the ghetto or something, like this dude wouldn't just show up there with him and just like his one friend. He would like give everybody guns, and he would be there with like a whole posse of like a bunch of dudes with lead pipes and, you know, big powerful automatic weapons. He wouldn't just be like him and his buddy. It would be like a whole group of people, like maybe even like 13 people. It would be like a whole thug team. It wouldn't just be like two guys. And they would walk in there like guns blazing. They wouldn't be them trying to sneak in there. They would come in there just blowing the shit out of everything. So it is really unbelievable here with the way they're doing this. Like, these cult members would have been massacred. There would have been gang members that are just like blowing these dudes away. But yeah, once you get to the end, it just ends the exact same way as the other ones. Like the dude with the camera gets killed at the end and it just fades off. That's pretty much it. So yeah, it's still a 0. But this one had potential. This could have been something as a standalone horror flick. But for what it is, this is the second best movie of the series, but this is the worst Paranormal Activity movie. Like, if you like what they were doing in those first 4 movies and that kind of style, you will be more pissed off with this, especially if you're kind of like an American audience member who can't like really, who doesn't really want to like try to relate to like people from different countries and like Mexico and stuff like that. Like, you can't really connect with that kind of stuff, and you're just like all about America and all that. You're probably easily going to hate this one if you're a fan of the series, but this series sucks. The first 4 movies are all pretty terrible, so the fact that they did something at least somewhat different, or try to, does raise the expectations more for this to be something better, because it does feel fresher and feels like it could be something. So at the end, it is more disappointing that it was still there. So it's still a 0. It's still a bad movie, but it's easily the second best of the Paranormal Activity movies after Part 3. So yeah, all in all, before I go, I just want to say one more thing. Yeah, Part 3 is slightly better as a Paranormal Activity movie because it was a step up with the directing going on in that one. Because this doesn't really feel like a Paranormal Activity movie, and because it has more potential, by the time that it gets really generic and wasted at the end, this one doesn't play as well as that third one. So this is worse than that third movie as a movie because of what it could have been. But I would still say, like, as a standalone movie, like if I took Paranormal Activity 3 as a standalone movie as well, this would probably be better. But in terms of this series, it's still bad. But it is the second best after Part 3. So yeah, I can't wait to wrap this series up. Thank God, and I'll see you guys again with the final one.